The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and think it.
He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Good evening, race fans. Coming to you live tonight from the Palace of Speed known as Road Atlanta. just north of Brazelton, Georgia, here tonight for the Autobahn series, where these GTLMs, GTDs, and HPDs are going to get out there and for the prototype class. You're going to turn some pretty fast laps here tonight at Road Atlanta. Joining me tonight is none other than Bill Soup Zahn, and of course Justin Prince, who will be with us here in just a few minutes. I'm Jed Yaman, behind the control board, getting us on the air, and Dougie Beard, of course, helping provide our cameras here for this evening. Now, Soup, this is one place that, hey, if you're a fan of road racing in America, you know, Petit Le Mans runs here, and numerous other sports car groups come here, motorcycles come here. Needless to say, if you know road racing in America, you know Road Atlanta.
Yeah, you should. You know, if they build a roller coaster for road racing drivers, it might look something like Road Atlanta. As you mentioned, it's in Brazelton, Georgia, on 750 acres. This place opened in 1970. And from opening day, drivers have both been hypnotized and horrified by the rhythms of the track that serpentines through 12 corners, rising and falling over 4 kilometers. That's 2.5 miles of asphalt, carved out of the red Georgia clay. You talked about a wide variety of racing that goes on here. Probably best known, though, for the Petit Le Mans. That is the endurance race that was first ran here in 1998. But the best way to get an idea of what this place is really like is to jump on board the BMW and take a lap around the roller coaster that is Road Atlanta.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Turn 1 is going to be a fast right-hand sweeper, but despite the fact that it heads uphill, it's easy to understeer wide, and if that happens, expect to slither off into the concrete barrier. Then right away, you've got turns 2 and 3. It's completely blind at the apex and prone to lap 1 pileups. Passing here is ill-advised. As soon as you're done with that, though, you plunge back downhill through the S's. We need a very specific line through here to set up for turn 5. This is another uphill corner, but watch out for the curb on the inside because grabbing too much of it will unsettle the car, and there's very little room on either side to save it. Now we're heading towards turn 6. There's plenty of banking in this corner, so it's faster than you'd expect it to be for a 90-degree right-hander. But before you know it, you've hit turn 7. This is easily the most critical corner on the track. As you can see, it dumps you onto the backstretch, which means your corner exit will be of the utmost importance. Botch it, and you'll be a sitting duck to the draft the whole way down the straight. Not only that, but at the end of this is the heavy braking zone for the chicane of 10A and 10B. The rest of the course is very technical, so expect most of the pass attempts to take place here. The tricky part is, the switchback means it's possible to defend from either side, so guys will be fighting hard to retain position. It'll take respect from both drivers to make it work. After that, we head back over the crest, fly through the final corner, and finish a lap around Road Atlanta.
And of course, that was a lap around Road Atlanta. You know, considering how big of a reputation this track has, not too big in length, as you saw, only a little bit over 2.5 miles in length. So these cars are going to be flying around here pretty quick. Soup best described it as a roller coaster, but another roller coaster that's going on. Those point standings, Soup, why don't you fill us in what's going on here so far in the Autobahn Motorcar series?
Okay, viewers, get out your large-sized spoons because there's a lot of soup coming your way. I got a lot to talk about. Before we look at the first overlay, keep in mind that these overlays are going to be very Christmas festive, festooned in plenty of green and red arrows. All the driver movement you'll see is a result of, for the first time this season, drop races have been taken into account, the 2 races that are allowed for in the rules. So these standings will give a true picture of how the Drivers' Championship is going. Let's go ahead and start with the big boys, the prototype. Now, his early season woes have been washed away by drop races, putting the privateer rookie Cy Ander out in front. If the cheese has come off the pizza, John Ulmer has been able to slide it back on where it belonged. That Road America drop races aren't really helping the big cheese yet. TMC Carbon's Mark Schindel started the season with a pair of podiums. Robert Tinsey for Talon Motorsports has been hit hard by penalties. Bob the Blade has plenty of time to slice his way up through the standings. The last 3 results have been 3rd, 4th, and 4th for Clan OAD Alex Simonik. All right, let's move on to the GTLM class. Now, to show how dominant AOD Racing's Jeffrey Ooms has been, the mantra is actually having to drop podium results because he has been so successful. Still looking for his first win, former champ Stephen McGarvey for TMC Carbon is doing his best to hang on to the back of Ooms. With Paul Oh My Darling getting to drop a pair of no-shows, the privateer takes a big jump up the list. Billy Smith has entered every event and has a win. Look for the Autobahn West driver to move up the standings as the season proceeds. After stepping away from the series, drop raises have given P1 Racing John Pac-Man Paquin one last breath on the graphic before he sinks below. Let's go ahead and look at the GTDs. If you've ever been to the state of Washington, Mount Rainier makes its presence known. Likewise, Rainier Racing's Bradley Haley is making his presence known. The Comet has 3 wins and counting. Privateer Dennis Savretic has a win at Road America. The surprise of the class has got to be Scott McGarvey. The SRN Motorsports man has podiumed in both of his last 2 events. Privateer Kevin Santana's best result was a second as Mosport. And Mosport was also kind to Sheldon Rosenbaum, awarding the Autobahn East driver his one and only career checkered flag. Finally, on to the teams. And remember, these teams are made up of 3 drivers, 1 from each class. There is an I-rating cap that keeps the teams from loading up on top-tier talent. Daniel Gralty did not make the prototype top 5 list. Ryan Huff did not make the GTLM top 5 list. Only Scott McGarvey, who sits in 3rd for the GTD class, has his name to show up on any of the graphics. Nevertheless, a team championship is just that, a team championship. So how about SRN Motorsports sitting in 1st? Pundits doubt that they'll be there at the end, but right now, that's where they are. Big names like Ulmer and Smith has Autobahn West in 2nd. Bradley Haley is doing the heavy lifting for Rainier Racing, as is Jeffrey Ooms for AOD Racing. Mark Schindel and Steve McGarvey have TMC rounding out the overlay. Adam, before I throw it back to you, on behalf of the GSRC stat boys, Simon and Poindexter, let me send out a public thank you to the stat guys at the Autobahn Motorsports Group Sportscar Challenge. Their hard work is much appreciated here at GSRC, and other series should take note of how point standings can be effectively posted. Thanks, guys. Okay, we're at the bottom of the terrain. Back to Adam.
Yeah, you know, great job there on the points. Of course, Soup, very interesting point battle shaping up, and of course with the team championships as well. Of course, the overall big picture of the season definitely starting to come into view in all the classes. Really, all very exciting races going on right now. Now, I believe we got Justin with us now. Hey, Justin. Here for tonight, why don't you talk a little bit about the race details and the event details, what we're going to have going on for us?
Thank you very much. Of course, as you see on your screen, you have the event details for the Autobahn Motorsport Group Pro Sports Car Challenge. Of course, today is round number 6, and as mentioned, there are 2 drop dates. Some drivers, as mentioned, potentially having podiums be dropped. This is a 90-minute race, and there's an estimated 2 pit stops expected for today's race here at Road Atlanta. There is also 1 fast repair allowed if need be, so that is in the back pocket of some drivers if that becomes a situation. Now, today the track is pretty cool today at 65 degrees on the morning sky with about 73 degrees for the track temps for the start today. Decently windy overall and a little bit of humidity, but it's a nice cool track, meaning there's going to be a bit more grip than usual to, say, a 90-degree track.
Yeah, and that warm track definitely feels like it's taken a toll on some guys out there. Hearing some reports of being pretty slick, so that's obviously going to be something that we're going to watch out for here. Now, Soup, we saw the track guide a couple of minutes ago. Now, it gives people a pretty good idea of what the track looks like when you're going around here. But what about some trouble areas? Where are you going to expect some trouble out there here today?
Well, we have multi-class racing going on. So for the most part, Road Atlanta sets itself up pretty good. It's got that long straightaway from 7 to 10 that the faster cars can get around, the slower cars can hold their line. It works out okay. Even around after you get through the chicane of 10 A and B, you're pretty safe all the way till you get over to 1 and even down into 2. But that's when the prototype guys have got to be patient through those S's, through 2, 3, 4, all the way down into 5. They might just have to wait. There's a good chance they can get a run down into 6 and make a pass into there. But because the switches back left and right, we'll see how patient those prototype guys are. A lot of great passing areas here, not only for the multi-classes, but if you're in-class racing as well. Look for most of the passing being done into 10 and down into 6, maybe into 1 as well.
And, one thing that was a very big factor last time out at COTA was the 24 incident limit. And, I know a lot of guys were worried about that before that race. Now, as far as that kind of thing here for tonight, as far as any kind of incident limit, Justin, first of all, do you have a lot of experience here running around Road Atlanta? And do you think that we're going to see any problems with the 24 incident limit as far as off tracks here today?
I got a fair amount of experience and a little bit of iRacing, a little bit more in, say, a Forza rule, but to say the least, it is going to be hard to stay on the track at some points because you do have a lot of hard braking points where if you make a mistake, you'll end up going into another car, or, for example, if you take a corner too wide, for example, you will touch the grass as you see Jeff Hooper doing in his qualifying time right now. So one bad move, you end up having a Jeff Hooper essentially in this race. So that could end up piling up the incident points pretty quickly if you end up making a ton of mistakes. You can't afford to do so. You can't afford to cut the course, especially since you get those time penalties. So yes, I think it is going to be definitely a factor, the incident cap today, especially maybe around that 60-minute mark, especially to that final 30 minutes.
If you're a fan and you want to buy a ticket, you kind of got to pick your poison. If you're looking for passing, I'd like some to be somewhere down into that chicane. We're going to see a lot of passing down there. If you're looking for trouble, well, there's no better place to find trouble than that dreaded corner number 5. Man, you can lose it. Not only you can go a little wide, you can lose it to the right, off into the outside wall, or the car will loop around and spin it back into the left side on the inside. Watch for some trouble in corner number 5.
Oh, and right there, riding on board with John Ulmer, he just took the pole away from Cy Andra during last chance qualifying here. On the leaderboard, you're going to see it even at 8.710 for your prototypes. Now, iRacing has a few more decimal points over to the right-hand side there that they don't display. But, yeah, John Ulmer taking that pole away. Right now, Bradley Haley on top of the GTD leaderboard out there, Kevin Santana in second. Bradley Haley, of course, taking part in the last chance qualifying. What would that be if 2 or 3 pole sitters came out of last chance qualifying here for today?
Yeah, just to follow up on the rules here of this series, there are 4 qualifying sessions. Each of the classes have their own qualifying session, and then there's the last chance for the guys who are getting off work. This is sim racing, so the real world things come into a play sometimes, and so they give everybody one last chance. The problem is they have to share the track with the rest of some of the slower traffic, and that's why John Ulmer was able to snake in there. Yeah, look at that, Jason Girard sitting on pole in the GTLM class, and then no surprise to see Bradley Haley down there in the slower class.
All right, so we got about 10 seconds left here as qualifying coming to a close very quickly. We're going to be able to get you your leaderboards here in just a second as well. For today, Road Atlanta, what more needs to be said? Obviously, a staple of American sports car racing in the Autobahn, coming here during Season 6 for a 90-minute race here for tonight. So get in, strap down, get ready, as there's going to be a lot of racing out there on track as we go, as we see the cars just finishing up out there. Soup, I'll ask you, since you've been around the block a few times, what's your favorite Road Atlanta memory?
My favorite Road Atlanta memory is when it's actually a sim racing memory, when we raced the MWT here, and we did it on what is called the club circuit. if you can imagine, there is a little section after the chicane that you have to drive in. You kind of go through, you order your takeout from the clown. He has it around the other side. You come back out. There are some great configurations here for Road Atlanta, but mine is in the sim world.
And I got to go back to the Petit Le Mans. I think it was about 2 years ago, actually, and just how wet it was and how crazy that.
I remember
was.
that.
Yeah, So mine's more recent, but I'll go with that. How about you, Justin?
To be honest, I don't have too many memories of Road Atlanta other than frustration and explicitives, I guess. So a lot of. I think it's also the challenge of the racetrack, really, that really challenges you as a driver. And I think today, in terms of memories, I think that will end up possibly resonating at the end of the day today for this broadcast as well.
I know Sean Ambrose's favorite member is when he goes over to the Gladys Knight waffles, chicken and waffles place. That's his biggest memory. Sean, we miss you, buddy.
Well, we'll delve into that a little bit more later, but qualifying is wrapped up. I think it's safe to call the grid. I'll go ahead and grab the prototypes here real quick. John Ulmer, you saw it live happening on your screen during last chance qualifying, taking the pole away from Andra, but that'll make up your front row. Daniel Gralty starting in third. Alongside him will be Mike Young. Lionel DePratt, pretty good starting position here tonight for Lionel. Alongside him will be Scott Corbin. David Sockrider starting in seventh. Steve Jones starting in eighth. And Mark Wilson starting in ninth. Alongside him will be Mark Kudrowski. And then rounding out your prototypes will be, well, my teammate in another series, Chris Pence.
We got 15 Ferraris and Fords going at it in the GTLM class. Jason Girard and Stephen McGarvey will be the top two there. Look at this. Jeffrey Ohms is back in third. 90 minutes, plenty of time for him to make it through there. Billy Smith is going to be in fourth. Paul Oh My Darling behind them, flanked by Ryan Huff. Carlos Villa and Patrick Fleming are the next two. Leif Peterson and Dave Hill. Corey Roon, Miguel Meyer, John King, Samuel Scott, and Dale Green is the 15th in class, 26th overall. Now let's go to the GTDs.
Thank you very much. As you see at the start of the GTDs today, it is Bradley Haley with a 1:17.236. Alongside him is Kevin Santana. Giulio Romanolu is starting off in the second row for this class, along with Scott McGarvey. Behind them in row number 16 overall on the track is Savarich, along with Dino Topic. Ross Booth and Brian Bennett follow them right on behind, followed by Brandon Gursika and Sheldon Rosenbaum. Paul Lindsay and Sheldon Woldelsheim starts along. Behind them is Joseph Crawford and Sean Reese. And along them with a few more times left on the board, as you see, Matt Owens, along with Tim McLeish, Robert Squeakina, Christopher Sherburne, David Jahada, Jeff Hooper, and Chris E. Pence. The two cars that did not record times were Mark Spenger and Alex Ellis.
And I think what you see there is Chris Pence having dropped in a car he wasn't planning on and had to just use his other account to go ahead and get on the race here. So that's probably why we got two Chris Pences out there here tonight. Anyway, I'm just going to call him out there real quick. Hey, well, let's go ahead and zoom in here on Patrick Fleming here real quick. Now, Patrick Fleming had himself a pretty interesting weekend here. He's coming back from the same place I was in, but I did not actually get a chance to meet him because I didn't know he was there until he was gone. He was at COTA helping with the, I think it's the World Endurance League or something like that. He was actually helping crew one of the cars over there. So he was out there. Now, I was out there as well with somebody else.
Who are you with?
Sean Ambrose, the lumberjack himself, was out there.
Oh.
So finally got a chance to actually meet one of you guys in person. He was out there helping to go ahead and spot for the PF Racing Mustang that you see they were sitting in front of. So I got to go out there and spend a couple minutes with him. That was pretty cool. Just wishing Sean the best here for tonight, and we'll get on to racing here. Prototypes getting ready, starting to come down the long back straightaway here.
Well, wait a minute. Let's just follow up a minute on that story. So you were in Texas. Of course, you live in Texas, so
Right,
that's kind of why That's probably why you got home, and Sean, of course, is hanging out in New York now, so he was scheduled to be here. He must still be on his way.
Well, for what it's worth, I had to drive the 6 hours back because I'm across the state from where Coda's at. So, but he had to fly back earlier. So, he moved out of Texas a couple months ago. So, but always good to have him back. Because you can't just leave Texas. It just doesn't happen like that.
Take the boy out of Texas, can't take the Texas out of the boy.
Something like that. Anyway, watching right now on your screen the GTDs. They're getting ready to get going here. The prototypes are going through the chicane there at the end of the long back straightaway. We'll be dipping down as we go down toward turn 1. Andra and John Ulmer actually making a little bit of contact on accident there on the start. So something happened there. Andra apologizing for it, but John Ulmer gets a big jump because of it, as Andra is actually going to drop back here just a little bit, going up through turn 1. And Andra is off track. He is way off track. Can he keep it out of the wall? He dings up in the right rear just a little bit. He's going to come back on track here. Let's go ahead and go back to Bill for the next class.
The GTL news, there was going to be a lot of excitement. They were really slow getting to the grid. Gerard, McGarvey, Ooms blocks into third, Billy Smith, and Darling, much more well-behaved than your group. Justin?
And right now, those GTDs are coming right out of the corner. That class led by Bradley Haley going out into the S's as they are two abreast, really, right behind for 5th and 6th right now. Everyone quickly going single file. Very clean start for them as well.
So an uncharacteristically not clean start for your prototypes. Oh, Dino toe pitch. His Audi already with significant damage here. Can try to see what happened.
I was just about to bring that up because I noticed just as I finished that last sentence, he had lost control. He was one of the cars still too wide, got loose through the S's, bounced off a car, and smacked into the wall on the left side. No Armco barrier there, having to turn himself around. You are seeing that right about now. Bouncing off that car right there, bouncing off the wall. And he's got a heck of a lot of damage to deal with now for this race.
Yeah, and you mentioned the short layout that Soup brought up as far as one of his favorite memories. Dino having to take that to try to get back on track, currently riding down the grass on the back straightaway. He's just trying to limp that car back around, but we'll check in with him here in a couple minutes, see what happens with him. But going back, let's go ahead and take a look right now. Bradley Haley, it seems like he's got his foot out from John Ulmer's got his, he's almost up already 3 seconds over David McGrawley up in the prototypes. And the next class, Jason Gerard. Jason, I think right now has your closest battle as far as anybody on track, as far as in the lead right now. He only has a couple of tenths of a second above Steve McGarvey.
Yeah, the GTLMs are very close but very well behaved compared to what was going on in the prototypes. If one want to go back and take a look at that Andra little accident that happened there, he was coming really close to Gralty as he was trying to go around the outside. Maybe a little bit of netcode, but a horrible start from Andra. Don't know if we have the replay for you. What he was able to do, he goes off into the grass. Now watch this, as he goes to the outside. Remember the slow stop. That's Gralty on the inside. They don't actually make contact as they go down. This is heading down into the corner. That's Andra on screen right. Gralty now on the inside of the corner. But watch, the car bumps over the grass. He gets the left rear of the car into the wall a little bit. He's still racing. And there are fast repairs, and he has 90 minutes. He's going to be fast, but now he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, and that's for sure out of Andra right now. Of course, coming in here, having a very strong season. And I've got to say, Soup, I really think maybe it was a mental error and kind of going into turn 1 after that accidental contact with John Ulmer before the green flag even came out. So it just kind of got him off his game early, but he's going to have to make up some ground in order to do something with them. Anyway, Daniel Gralty right now, seen him having to hold off a challenge from Mike Young. Mike Young only a couple tenths of a second back. Mike Young it looked like he might have been having some connection problems earlier on, so we're going to have to see if those continue to plague him as the race goes along, but hopefully not, because he has himself a pretty good run here going. So far, John Ulmer's off in the grass. He can go up here to John Ulmer real quick.
He's got it back together, though. He's still racing. He has a huge lead of almost 3 seconds. Oh, Andra is off again. Oh, this is going, looks like going into one. This time, this is more than off. This is a smack. Mama Jean, if you're watching, remember this is simulated. He's okay. Ouch.
Yeah, that gravel did not do a whole lot to slow him down right there before he went into that tire barrier. So, unfortunately, I think Cy Andre is going to be having to take that fast repair and see what he can recover out of that car here for today. Justin, what's going on back in your deal?
Right now, still Bradley Haley has pulled away to about a 2.1 second lead in the GTD so far. Roman Nolo is currently in second spot in that single file race as he was able to get by Kevin Santana. Dennis Severage is currently in fourth. As you're seeing, pretty calm racing for the most part as everyone's going single file trying to hit their marks at this point. As you can see the view of second place on your screen. Trying to run away from Santana is Roman Nolo. But this is a very tough track still. There is still a long ways to go and a lot can shift around. Just everything settling down for the start.
Giuliano Romanolo is a new name to the series, a new that we're learning to pronunciate it, but it's also this is his first event that we've seen him race, and he's giving Haley a good run for his money.
And just as I finished about pretty calm start again, guess who hit the wall? Joseph Crawford hit the wall moments ago. As you've seen the battle on P2, there is Santana and Roman Nolo battling once again. You see them going off the rubbers and off the rumble strips as able to get the spot right there is Santana. Still too wide on behind them as it's too wide heading down the front stretch. Roman Nolo is able to get by and get second spot, and this could turn into a battle for third as Sevenich will go to the inside line, possibly in a great spot to get this position right here.
Ooh, we got a hornet's nest going on back here as well. Christopher Sherburne and it was Robert Skolenka in a hornet's nest of HPDs, and that's going to force Steve Jones off the track. He's going through the grass, trying to get himself back on, but he's having to fight through GTD traffic to do it. That almost got very interesting very quickly, and now that same group of traffic there is having to battle Matt Owens as Ulmer is now involved in it. Ulmer dropped back a couple of positions. We missed something there, guys.
Yeah, Gralty's in first. We'll see if I can go back and see if I can find it.
You might want to get to turn one because things are collecting up. Sean Reese, one of the GTDs involved. Joseph Crawford again. Multiple cars currently around at the pit exit, just as you're showing this incident. As we will get to that in a few moments. But right now, things continuing to get interesting around this track. Things separating out with this traffic. Definitely becoming a major factor here at a track like Road Atlanta.
And, you know, Soup, you were talking earlier about the multi-class aspect of racing here and how, you know, it seems like it lends itself to multi-class racing, but really only if you catch the cars in certain spots, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I continue to look to see what happened to the Big Cheese. Where Ulmer, oh, I saw it. It was he looped the car totally around. It was going in corner number 5. He was up in the lead. He lost it. The car went around, and by the time he got it straightened out, he had lost 5 or 6 positions. Didn't hit anything. But that's what happened to Ulmer. And then, Adam, when you were talking about what we were looking at, you called it a hornet's nest. Ulmer was part of that as well. That's why he's falling back. So Daniel Gralty is our leader, and Gralty now is working his way. You talk about traffic. Maybe we can go to Gralty right now. He's got Kevin Santana. He's trying to work his way through those GTDs. He's got Mike Young right behind him. A great battle for the lead in the prototypes.
Yeah, and right now, Kevin Santana third in the GTDs, and he's sitting there trying to fight with Steve McGarvey, while Mike Young, Daniel Gralty is going by here. They're now going to go by Savetric. I always love Savetric's car. I mean, it reminds me so much of Tron with the black and the teal blue there. I always got to point that out. But, man, just fighting through the traffic right now is tedious almost for these guys.
They work their way, the two prototypes work their way around Romanolo.
Yeah, here's the thing with these lap times, especially with dealing with this traffic. The prototypes are still in the 116s at this point. The GTDs are as slow as 1 minute 24 seconds. So in some of these cases, as you see a sliding prototype in the backdrop right there, that is Lionel Duprat. It's essentially coming up to basically moving chicanes.
So much excitement in the prototypes and the GTDs. This is very much contrary to what's going on in my GTML class, where they're just pretty much racing in order.
In fact, Paul Lindsay right now back here, I think he had a little bit of netcode contact with Mark Wilson. Mark Wilson trying to fight himself through practice, right now sitting in 6th in the prototypes. You know, I don't think anybody's getting out of this initial run with traffic here scot-free.
Can we quickly go to 16th overall, 15th overall? Ryan Huff, maybe back one spot. Paul Darling. These guys are in a mess. Carlos Villa is mixed up in this one and this. And here comes Patrick Fleming. Boy, he takes a lot of curb. This is a battle for, what would that be, about 7th in class, 6th in class there with Darling. They've got to sort it out a little bit.
And just absolute calamity across this track, really, at this point. You're seeing all these cars having to negotiate each other. Just for example, if you go to, say, Kevin Santana, where he's at, he's currently trying to hold off Sheldon Rosenbaum, while 2 prototypes are zooming right on behind the 2 of them. And this is just one of the more calmer lap car battles, essentially, as you're seeing them go heading into the tight corners. And we've seen a few times that some of these prototypes having to hit the brakes so hard that they've been sliding the tires on the entries. He's having to hang on to their cars. So it's getting pretty scary out there at some points as things continue to settle down across the track.
Now, you know, Soup, I don't know if you have any experience driving the prototypes. If you do, can you elaborate a little bit on how it feels if you do have to jump on the brakes a lot?
I do. When I'm in the prototype, it feels scary. Hey, let's go back. This is 13th overall. There's a battle for 2nd in class. This is Jeffrey Ooms on the outside of Jason Girard. They got trapped behind the slower car of Hooper. When they negotiated that, it was Ooms was trying to make the move, but he couldn't get it done, so the Montra will have to stay in 3rd position. Girard fight him off, but look at the tow he's going to have now as they head down into 10. When I'm in any of these cars, I find it scary, even when I'm going straight. Here comes Ooms as he passes to the inside. I don't think Girard's going to have anything for him. It's a game of chicken. Let's see if the Montra does it. He takes it in deep, and he gets the pass.
All right, well, we're going to need to go ahead and take a break here just real quick. We'll be right back for more action and action-packed Road Atlanta here in the Autobahn Motorcar Series. welcome back to Road Atlanta. Apologies for some very quick technical difficulties you had to deal with there. But we are back up and running here and turning into a very interesting race. Now, since we were away here for just a couple of minutes, want to go ahead and talk about the top 5 in each class. Just here real quick, recap where everybody's at. Daniel Gralty on top of the prototype class. He is up 2 spots from the start after Cy Andra and John Ulmer got into it right before the green flag. Andra went off track and just started a bad day for him. Now behind him, Gralty, you'll find Mike Young. Mike Young had himself some connection problems here in practice, but no problems here right now. He's up 2 spots again.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second, Adam. Let's go to Ohms. This is something else here. This is Ohms now. Gerard has fallen back behind these guys. Here comes the leaders and the prototypes going by. This is Gralty going underneath. Now that's your leader in the prototypes, Gralty, and then Young that Adam was just talking about, but they're mixed in there. That's McGarvey leading the GTLMs. Right behind them, that's Gerard now racing in second. And that is McGarvey in second, Gerard in third in the GTLMs with Ohms out in front now. Sorry to interrupt you, but my spider sense.
Well, it is huge because Mike Young is just getting held up like no tomorrow behind those guys, and he is stuck, and that just opened up the top 2 in the prototypes like by a couple of seconds there, I believe. So that had huge implications in this race. Okay, that calmed down there here for just a second. We'll go back to third in the prototypes, who is now Lionel DePratt. It was John Ulmer just a second ago. We're going to need to go back and see what happened to John Ulmer. Ulmer is in the pits. He is on his way out. I heard him get on the radio and talk just a minute ago, but Lionel DePratt now in third. I believe he started 10th on the day. Lionel having himself a fantastic day, in part taking advantage of other people's misfortunes. In fourth place is Steve Jones, and starting shotgun on the field is Chris Pence in the prototypes, and he is up to 5th. Oh, I think being in top 5 today is a curse. We got a replay here of Steve Jones. Go ahead and talk us through it here, Sue.
Right in front of Huff. He just has this little spin. He loops around, does not hit anything. He'll be back out there. Boy, he did a good job of waiting. Kept the car in the grass, let all the guys go by. The last car to go by, Chris Pence, and then he brings it back out.
Okay,
Let me run down
talking about pit stops here starting soon, but that might be what we're seeing here as Chris Pence is on his way in. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, before we go to the GTD, see where they are there. They usually run a little longer. Let's run down the top 5 in the GTLMs. Do it real quick. Right now, it's Jeffrey Ohms, where he's not that far ahead of McGarvey and Gerard. Those guys continue to run 1, 2, 3 as they work their way around the slower car of Samuel Scott. Sam trying to make this car invisible. It takes mass. He's got to get out of the way. Now the 2 drivers get around. So there's your top 3. But let's go back and see who's chasing these guys. You got to go all the way back to Billy Smith. You can still see him. You see Smith in his familiar kind of yellow and lime colored. I don't know what color that is in black. You guys with better rods and cones, you pick it out. 5th position, Paul Darling. He just got around Carlos Villa. Darling making a move. There you have it. Justin, what's going on in your group?
Absolute calamity at this point, unless you're Bradley Haley. Whereas Bradley Haley is far and beyond gone in the GTDs right now, as you see. A gigantic 13-second gap at this point. Then we get to the calamity at this point, which is currently a battle for second that has been forming for the past 5-10 laps between 4 cars. As you see right now, it's Devin Semenik, Kevin Santana, Scott McGreevy, and Giulio Romanolo. And Romanolo had been the guy in second at first when this battle started, before going into the sand traps for a little bit and losing just about every spot, dropping to the back of that grouping for the tail end right now. Sheldon Rosenbaum also at the tail end of that train at this moment. Behind them is a few different cars from various different classes, including Brandon and Guraskoza, and a few different drivers. As you see, Brandon Guraskoza having to deal with some of these cars. Paul Lindsay is the next car behind him by 3.8 seconds. And rounding out the top 10 right now, Ross Booth and Samuel Scott.
So out of the 47 cars that started, I believe we still have 44 on track right now. So despite all the action and despite the accidents, we haven't seen a lot of overall attrition here just yet today, as we have just crossed the hour and 10-minute mark to go. This has only been the first 20 minutes of this race, folks, and we got a long way to go. It's Billy Smith getting on the radio, unhappy with somebody here.
Just to follow up a little bit about Ulmer, as we look at Billy Smith racing, I believe, 4th in class. Ulmer made that stop. I'm not sure he's actually in the window to do it from one more from here. We'll keep an eye on him. We don't want to let that get away. It seems like that's asking a lot from that prototype to get the rest of the only one stop to go. Big picture-wise, Ulmer having trouble, and with Cy Andra having big trouble as well. It's going to open the door for some of these other guys. Andra, I believe, is out. Oh, he's still racing.
Yeah, Cy Andra, after his incidents earlier on, is after he'd taken his faster pair and everything else, just trying to be quiet, just rack up whatever spots he can here at this point, because, well, as you guys have seen, anything can happen here today at Road Atlanta. At this point, Soup, I got to think that here at round 6 out of this season might be the one that goes down as changing everything.
Yeah, Joe Peak probably happy he missed this one. As boy, that was hectic there for a while. Let's go. Let's look at the GTLMs real quick, because now that Jeffrey Ohms was able to work his way around Gerard and McGarvey, order has been restored, and he is starting to pull away. That's kind of what you expect from him. He had a horrible qualifying time where he qualified behind those guys. 14th overall, 3rd in class. But now he's running them down. Now the question is, can Gerard keep McGarvey behind him? Now, when we're talking McGarvey, remember there's 2 of them. There's Steven and Scott. One races in the GTLMs, and we're looking at right there. His brother races in the GTDs. How is his brother doing? Let's check in on Scott. Where is Scott down there? Racing 4th in class. Got his work cut out for him, though. He's in a mix with, that's in that group that, Justin, you were talking about. Severetic, Santana, McGarvey, and the newcomer, Romanolo. Man, God, that's a great battle back there.
Yeah, it's definitely continuing to heat up, really, as few cars are dusting up a little bit of dirt, as you see, possibly just one incident point, maybe just enough to not get the set incident point, but you're starting to see 7X starting to separate this out.
Mark Katrowski here losing it, just nosed it into the tire barriers in the prototype class, and that's see if he's going to be able to back up here and get back in traffic, or is he going to take his toe? Might be stuck.
You see this? Let's take another look at this one on board with Brian Bennett. He was 2nd to the incident. He might have the best view. You can see the car ahead taking evasive action. I believe that was that prototype car was probably Alex Ellis. Let's see if we can find it. We'll look, see if we can go on board with Bennett. Now it's going to happen. Whoop, and we lost it.
Okay. One thing to really note as well, there's a multiple cars, as you see, going across the track. Guys, as you see, like you have Patrick Fleming, who just went off a few moments ago, for example, now wobbling his car around on the track. So everybody essentially is just trying to hang on to things at this point. You got to think, though, the pit stops have got to be starting to slowly but surely come into the window as we're already about 30 minutes in.
Keep in mind, this is a large field. That's kind of the technical problems that we're having. 49 cars actually entered. Well, 50 cars, actually, if you count Chris Pence, who was beside himself to actually race today, as there's actually 2 of them.
Well, you know, that's twice the excitement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right now the excitement, I guess, building up across the track. And by the way, those battles heating up once again with the GTDs, because guess who just made a pass? Romanolo able to get by Scott McGarvey, as he has now moved his way back up into 4th, right in front of some of that lap traffic. That would be in corners 6 and 7. They made the pass right there, as Romanero is a little bit farther behind than you'd probably like, about 7/10. But you see that toe from McGarvey as they're going to both dig it in there deep.
Giuliano Romanolo, you might think maybe from Italy. He hails from Canada.
Canada is a multicultural country, so it is possible that he has an Italian background, but we don't want to speculate, of course. But
Not speculate. He was a spy in World War II and came over, escaped. He's in the witness protection program.
Okay.
I got nothing. Got nothing. All right.
I hope I haven't outed him. All right. Go ahead. Sorry, Joe. See, but this is what happens when this is my 7th broadcast in 3 days, and my dad's not here. Joe Peak's not around to keep me in line.
So
again, I have nothing. Well, at least Snoop hasn't tried any math yet here so far today, but we still got an hour left to go, so there's still time for that.
Yes, there is still a lot of time with that, probably with possibly fuel calculations and so forth. Let's go to those GTLMs, though, you see on your screen, guys.
Yeah, GTLMs here, as watching Steve McGarvey just riding in the wake of Jason Gerard, as they are doing their best right now to use that slipstream and that draft. And that's another hornet's nest that's going on behind these guys. These guys getting ready to get swallowed up here once again by some HPDs in the prototype class. And I think Syandra actually might be one of those vehicles coming up fast from behind here.
Yeah, Andra. He's actually gets lapped down from the prototypes right now, so he's actually ranked. What would that be overall? Sitting in 13th position overall in class. Oh my goodness, what about 10th? Yeah. So he's coming around now. This is Gerard and McGarvey. They race 2nd and 3rd in their class. Behind them, that's a prototype. That's David Sockrider. Boy, we got a lot of prototypes. One of those is John Ulmer. And how about this? Alex Ellis is going to try to make a move on John Ulmer in the back. Alex, get him wound up. Takes it in hotter than Beatnik Poetry. Deeper than Beatnik Poetry. Hotter than Desert Sand. Get your metaphor lined up, Soup. Woo. Alex Ellis, up to 7th.
Are you okay? Do you need to take a breath?
No, I don't know if I'll be back for another one of these broadcasts, so I'm okay.
But yeah, you can see that's just about the negotiations, really. You have drivers getting on the radio saying thank you, trying to negotiate things, prototypes almost rearing-ending each other, as you see on your screen, my goodness. And you have now GTDs to negotiate with, too, so I know I keep on sounding like that broken record, but this is absolutely insane racing, as we're seeing today here at Road Atlanta. 3 wide, 4-lap traffic, that is basically the definition of today's race so far. As you continue to see the action going and unfolding across your screens early.
Scott Corbett have to take the escape route. He was trying to get around Paul Lindsay and getting back on track, but that was almost very dicey for those two back there.
And can we, maybe if our director can do it, can we look at John Ulmer? He's had more trouble. If we can find this one, he got together with the car of Stephen McGarvey. Looked like it was just coming out of the chicane. Yeah, just coming out of the final chicane. Was it on? Let's make sure I'm on this lap. Yeah, sometimes I scroll back and that's too far back. Ulmer, another incident for the cheese. It's still on there, but the cheese get a little greasy.
Yeah, but you know, he already had to take to the grass just a moment ago as well to split Brandon Garcia and Mark Wilson as well. So Ulmer having to take some crazy moves in order to try to get around immediately. Also having to avoid Sheldon Rosenbaum. Ulmer I think he's probably had himself the most eventful day. Oh, it's right now with Ulmer. Kevin Santana almost pulled right in front of him, and that was almost disastrous for John Ulmer.
Ulmer had to get those left sides on the grass. And again, we talked about it, about the prototypes being patient through that section. Well, John's had one of those days where patience are in short supply now. You know, and right behind all that, when Mark Wilson tried to get around Kevin Santana, he actually ended up clipping Kevin just enough to ding up his left rear. So that left rear fender now on Mark Wilson's car pushed in just ever so slightly on the last car on the lead lap.
Speaking of
it's Daniel Gralty now on pit road.
Yeah, we're just discussing the possibility of, say, John Ulmer trying to beat that window for the prototype side, Bill.
Yeah. You know, in Santana's defense, I'm Kevin Santana. I'm third in class. I'm trying to run down the leaders. You guys are in 8th and 9th. You've had trouble in your just come on, give me a break. Let me get through this section. Then you can come around. I'm with you. I'm with you, Kevin.
I've seen a lot too, where is seeing Mark Wilson there diving onto pit road. I've seen a lot too where the prototypes, some of them have been waiting patiently through those S's until there's an opening. So maybe a little bit of impatience involved, like you're bringing up. But you also got guys back there that are like John Ulmer, who's fast enough to be the leader of this race, but unfortunately circumstances have dictated otherwise here so far.
Well, here's the deal. Ulmer is not above running away from this thing and winning a race by 45 or 50 seconds. So even though he's way back there, he's still got visions of winning this thing.
It's true.
Cy Onder says, I just lost 6 seconds on track. You blinked really bad from Robert Skolinka. A little conversation going on between them.
Yeah, that's one of the risks you have when your internet quality goes down. He went down to as low as probably the high 80s, which has that possibility, and it costs you a lot of time. Though, look at this continuous traffic you're seeing as they go into 12 and 13. My goodness, still too wide of lap traffic. Multiple different classes trying to negotiate, and Santana may be part of this bottleneck still.
Yeah, he's back there with Giuliano Romagallo. Billy Smith is back there as well. Then Kevin Santana, and of course that prototype that was getting around him was Scott Corbin just a second ago. As I believe now Lionel DePratt coming out pit road. He's in pit road now from 3rd in the prototype. So actually he got up to 2nd with Gralti pitting.
And hold on 1 second. As you show that, we have an incident. Kevin Santana, we were talking about that bottleneck. He has now had that said incident.
That was with Billy Smith.
Yes, just as we're going to see this on your screen. As you see now, Kevin Santana in front of Billy Smith, as mentioned, on the inside line. And Billy Smith clipping him on the right side. Santana going through the grass. Smith going through the grass. Both cars still going. And there's still another bottleneck right behind us, Santana once again here. But
those are veterans. And again, I got to kind of... You know, they pay me to have an opinion. Kevin, I thought you got turned there. I mean, I don't know if Billy Smith was actually there.
Yeah, I think Billy just took it in a little too hot and just couldn't get it wound down, and obviously not intentional, just one of those things that happens, but just a little bit of a mental error on his part, and ended up, you know, thankfully for Kevin Santana, I don't think it caused a great deal of damage on his Mercedes, but Billy Smith is tore up enough that he's coming down pit road, probably going to take his fast repair here.
Now, Stephen McGarvey in this class, he was in a pinata full of bees as well, and he found the cork, got out of there. He took his pit stop. He was running in 2nd, so he's falling way down. I think the window's beginning to open up now.
Yeah, you saw him pass Vetrick on pit road there just a minute ago. But now we go up to Stephen McGarvey. And Stephen working himself through that traffic with now securely in 11th place there. Those GTLMs, though, definitely a competitive class here today. Meanwhile, up front, Daniel Gralti and Mike Young, the race is back on. Yep. That was down to about 0.3 of a second a moment ago, but he got a good run in some lap traffic and was able to widen that back up to about 0.7. But here comes more lap traffic. It's just been right along here with Mike Young for just a second. Just watch him try to navigate through this, going through the S's. Thankfully, they're giving him plenty of room. It's traffic seems to be the name of the game here so far.
Gralti and Young have all made their pit stop, have most of the prototypes. They're usually first to come in as a class. Gralti's stop was about 2 seconds longer than Young and about 1.5 seconds cone to cone. So that kind of is why all of a sudden we see Young back in there, certainly in the mix. Happy to race back there behind and let Gralti do all the work. My goodness, Gralti has to shoot between Reese and Severik. And I was a little bit behind. This is typical of what's been going on today as he gets through, though.
And speaking of getting a little bit behind, one driver who's a little bit behind with a 24-second pit stop to start off with the GTDs. It is Devin Severik, as he is right now in still about 33rd position overall, 8th in the class, coming out of the pits as a few different drivers putting in Ross Booth, for example, for his class in Kevin Santana finally brings it in and is still in his stall, as well as a few other drivers, as you see. Garcia, for example, just coming out of his pit stall. So everyone bringing it on in.
Just a few drivers yet to come in. Paul Darling yet to make his stop. I've spent most of the race watching stuff on Reline. I forgot to go back to live timing and scoring there.
Yeah, that's definitely an important thing to do. By the way, the GTD leader of Bradley Haley is now in the pits and now going for a stop. About the ballpark for the stops is about 22 to 25 seconds so far today. Fastest being Sheldon Woolson, as you see Haley now going back to the GTDs.
Darling has finally made his stop. He was credited with reading one lap, but it looks like Jeffrey Ohms, who's just going across the start-finish line, is going to get that spot back. My goodness, he is a mile ahead of Jason Girard. In fact, let's see if Girard, this will be fun, let's see if Girard can actually get out before Darling.
And one thing to note here real quick, too, in the prototype classes, John Ulmer finds himself now in third position despite all his troubles. Now, he's on a different pit strategy than the rest of everybody because of those troubles, but he's now up to third. Can't count him out yet. Go ahead, Soup.
Ohms goes by. Just going to recap you on the GTLM. So Ohms is your leader. McGarvey is going to come out in second. Girard does get ahead of Darling. Billy Smith does as well. But he is real close. We can look at that battle real quick. Smith is in the mix there somewhere with Girard. Girard about a car length. He's got Brian Bennett between him as a cushion. And then rounding out the fifth place, it would be, I would think it would be Paul Darling. No, it isn't. It's Ryan Huff. Yeah. Huff comes out ahead of Darling. He has a real good pit stop. Oh, let's go. Is this Santana? Boy, he's had a rough day. Santana and Fleming. I think this is current.
Yes, it is current. In fact, as we're going to go right here, a few drivers were discussing Santana on the radio a few laps ago. Well, he just went way off the track and lost it there, smashing his car. Another person joining him in that accident.
That's Fleming, yeah.
That's Fleming, as you see. We're going to see this now once again, viewing from one of the cars behind one of this gigantic incident. Both cars really hit the rumble strips, and for Santana, he hit it the worst, and then Fleming followed suit, going for a full 360, or about a 285, I should say, before getting back going.
A little target fixation maybe there. It's Santana, I feel for you. It's been a rough race for you, buddy.
Definitely one of those guys that we've said his name a lot. And by the way, while all that was going on, Dino Topic calling it quits here for today. His Audi was just absolutely destroyed. Unfortunately, due to some of the session trouble we're having here tonight, couldn't see exactly what happened to Dino. But Dino, hey, if you're listening, buddy, want to come up and tell us about your race and what you're seeing out there, come on in, buddy. But anyway, the battle up front between Daniel Gralty and Mike Young continues to stay pretty stable, anywhere between about 0.7 to 0.9 of a second. Seems like he's able to get back up to Daniel Gralty in lap traffic, but until then, it just doesn't happen. Now, back behind them, though, we have to talk about John Ulmer. John Ulmer has picked off another 2 seconds off these guys. He is really clicking through right now. He, as we said a few minutes ago, he is on a different pit strategy than your leaders, but if things play out in the end, he is going to be a factor in this thing before everything is said and done, and that is despite his troubles out there. Now, let's go ahead, since it's been a couple of minutes since we did, let's go ahead and talk about at least the top three in each of the classes here again here real quick. Soup, go ahead and tell us about the GTLMs.
Okay, it is Ohms. He's comfortable. He's got 8-second lead on McGarvey. The pit stops are done. McGarvey with a 7-second lead over Jason Garrett. Those guys have been up front for most of the way. Did I say Jason Garrett?
The coach of the Dallas Cowboys making a guest appearance here tonight in iRacing on the GSRC broadcast. Shouldn't he be like, I don't know, coaching a football team that's not going to the playoffs this year?
No,
I went there.
Yeah, he needs to figure out how to get that quarterback fired up again. He's got Jason Girard has about a 1.5-second lead over Billy Smith. Okay, let me out of here. I promise I will do better. Let's go down to Justin. Talk about your top three.
The top three in the GTDs after the pit cycle, really, at this point. Bradley Haley, at this point, has got a gigantic lead now. It's about 10-15 seconds now over Dennis Severnick right now, who is in second place in the class. You see him in between a GTLM sandwich at this point. And in third spot at this point is Scott McGarvey. He was the last car to go to the pits in his class, and he's taken advantage with the third place run. While behind him is currently, in terms of positioning, Brandon and Juracia in the fourth spot on the field, as that will wrap up the top four, as it seems a lot of different drivers are starting to have struggles, a few prototypes as well as a car, as you see by the tire wall.
Okay, catch my breath there. Let's see if I can actually say a sentence without making a blunder. I miss you, Sean Ambrose. First of all, that's who I'm going to blame it on. You were supposed to be here today. Justin came in the last minute. It got me all confused. Let's look at Ulmer. He's got a 38-second cushion back to Alex Ellis. Now, there might be 2 pit stops more left in Ulmer's future, but even at that, I think he's got a chance to come in. If one of them is a splash and go, I think he's got a real chance at a podium. And just ahead of him, there's an incident. Oh, no!
Off the road? Is he able to avoid it?
We're going to look at this one.
See here, something happens to Miguel Meyer to loop him around. And by the way, right now he is around again. Oh, who was that green and white car that made contact with him right there?
Front on the inside was King. On the outside was Meyer.
Okay, John King and him getting into it there, and unfortunately did not end well as John King loses it. Miguel Meyer just kind of being a victim of bad circumstance, and almost think for a second there was thinking about pulling out in front of John Ulmer. Thankfully, Ulmer saw that, was able to take evasive action, and of course he did loop it around once again in a solo spin after that incident, but he is back on track, as you can see now on your screen. His tires might be a little bit angry at him. In fact, he's going to be coming down pit road here right now. All right, back on your screen right now, there is John King in that Ferrari. Quiet race right up until then for John King, and a lot of these guys haven't been able to have quiet races yet, have they, guys?
No, not at all. It's well, some have. Jeffrey Ooms, once he's got around some guys, he's feeling pretty good. But yeah, it's been hectic out there because there's always something happening, and you never know when it's going to break out in front of you.
Oh, yeah. And I think Alex Ellis here, Bradley Haley. I think Alex Ellis just gave Bradley Haley a little bit of a bump going through the S's. Is now around him. No damage in either car, but Ellis definitely wasn't too happy with that.
Yeah, you're seeing this on the screen right now. Alex Ellis, as you mentioned, as it just cuts out before that apparent contact, but still, Haley's still running. Ellis is still running. And at this point, it's still going to be negotiations pretty soon with Haley. Going to have to deal with some of the faster cars right behind. You still see Mike Young on your screen. Now Bradley Haley, I should see on your screen.
Yeah, there is no respect if you're leading a class. But if you're in a slower class, even if you're the leader, get out of my way.
I think that's the mindset of every single driver who's in a faster car than one of the slower classes is at this point. But at the same time, I think some of the slower cars are basically thinking, okay, what if I lose my positioning at this point? But at the same time, you have to be safe.
I keep thinking it's like a therapy session. They need to get all the drivers together and make the fast class race in the slow cars, and the slow class race in the fast cars, so they can be sympathetic with the other people's situation. That's how I would do it. And then everyone gets an orange slice.
An orange slice. It's not like giving oranges to...
Like at the soccer games there. Right?
Never mind. Well, either way, at the very least, things have definitely calmed down from what we were seeing earlier on, but still definitely seeing lap traffic playing a role is now just to compound his earlier troubles. I see Sayandra on pit road with an absolutely destroyed prototype. Let's see if we can find out what happened to him. Oh, It happened a little while ago in the S curves. He had contact with somebody, ended up spinning into the concrete. So that might be the end of Cy Andre's day after that just disastrous start that he had. Now we're going 3 wide out there. Hey, I almost pulled out some oval stuff there talking about 3 wide, but as you can see there, Mike Young able to split that traffic and able to get on through it. But he is really chasing down Gralty here real quick, isn't he, Sue?
He is indeed. He is. You know what he has done? He's staying close enough to Gralty that keeping the pressure on Daniel, where Daniel has to keep racing at, I don't know, 95% of what he could do. He can't let up at all as they work their way around Dennis Savretic now. Oh, look at the run now. Look at the run from Young as Gralty was held up. Young is right on him, 2 car lengths back. Keep in mind, now what you have to remember, Young was faster in the first pit stop than Gralty was. That can be for a couple reasons. And now they're on the back. That's Owens. Let's see if he forces it and down into 6. I don't think that's really a passing zone. He's going to take a chance at it. Nope.
No, he decided better of it, but Gralty grabs that curb awkwardly. He's not able to get a good launch there through that short section right there.
And look now as they get behind. This is Brian Bennett. And what I was surprised at there was that Young didn't hug in behind Bennett. Sometimes those slower classes cars can poke a big hole. Let's see if Young forces the issue into the chicane. 2 car lengths, 1 car lengths. I think he realizes there's a lot of racing left to go.
Hey, guess what? Guess what? John Ulmer and all that is now 1.3 seconds back from that group. He is right there getting around Brian Bennett. He's going to dive down to pit road. We talked already a couple times. He's on a different pit strategy than your leaders.
Yeah, I think this one he had to come in for. He had been out there for about 12 laps longer than the other guys. I think he's got 1 more in him. But that doesn't mean he can't do this. He's fast.
He definitely gained up a lot of time on that. So is that battle between Gralty and Young widens up just a bit, but not a lot. Mike Young's still right there. If Gralty catches some slower traffic, you see him go around Leif Peterson here. And now the question is will he slow up Mike Young? Mike Young, I think it will slow him up just a little bit on corner exit here, as he's not going to be able to quite get around that Ferrari just yet. There he goes. But now Gralty having to work himself around Dale Green, but able to catch him on the straights. That seems to be the difference right now, Soup, is that Gralty's able to catch this traffic on the straights and not the corners, where Mike Young's catching him in the corners.
But look, here's what's going to happen. Gralty and Young have their hands full trying to figure out what's going on. Ulmer has made his pit stop. When Young and Gralty make their stop, don't be surprised if Ulmer's not in front of them. And then all of a sudden, Gralty and Young are saying, oh my goodness, I'm not in the lead anymore. They may not realize that Ulmer has 1 more stop in his books. Look at this. Look at Young now as he is stuck behind. That's Paul, oh my darling. Oh my darling, trying to get around Sheldon Roloshin. He goes out, no room. Look at the run now from Young, but he has to check up through the twisty sections. Quarter 5, boys, be careful.
Oh, it's Sean Reese losing it in front of these guys. He's slow up in front of them.
Oh.
Woohoo! Paul Darling has to take evasive action. Everybody gets through scot-free.
Darling had to give enough room to get around that, but he knew he had those prototypes coming.
Yeah, a lot of action going on right now. Also, Romanolo, though, his day is potentially done because he wrecked on the front stretch on lap number 46 for him. As he crashed.
Here comes Mike
You
Young.
have the battle.
David Gralty not able to get into the defensive line quite yet. Mike Young's going to be able to take him on the inside, but he's going to be on the outside here coming through the second part of the chicane. And he is on the gas just a little bit harder. David Gralty's going to slot in behind him, try to use some of the draft going down to turn 1. He is tucked nose to tail. Daniel Gralty taking another look. Move Daniel Gralty back up into P1. What kind of exit will happen here? Are they going to be able to say head to this left-hander and then followed quickly by that right-hander? Daniel Gralty, the biggest threat to that lead that he's had yet, is able to hold off Mike Young. Mike Young not able to get enough of a run to be able to get enough in front of him to avoid that draft coming into play.
You know what's happening? Coming over the microphone, John Ulmer talking to Mike Young saying that Daniel Gralty thinks your sister's ugly, and then going to Mike Young saying, then going to Daniel Gralty saying Mike Young thinks your mother's fat. He wants those guys to mix it up, maybe get together. John Ulmer can still win.
And John Ulmer is definitely thinking victory in P1 here today, and he has the car to do it even despite his problems, but he still needs a few things to go his way here just yet. Now, after that pit stop, by the way, he did drop to 4th in class as Alex Ellis now is in back in 3rd, but not too much longer before those guys are going to have to start making their pit stops as well.
Yeah, it's only 5 seconds between Ellis and Ulmer, and they both have one stop to make. Remember, Ulmer's stop's going to be short. He's not going to need as much fuel as these guys.
All right, so we've been talking about the prototypes here a lot here lately. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the GTLM class real quick there, Sue.
Well, it started off, they were really close early on. Some great racing, some very patient racing, but once things settled out, it is the mantra. Jeffrey Ohms out in front by 7 seconds over Stephen McGarvey, not to be confused with Steve McGarvey of Dodger first baseman fame, just as I'm like bringing in other sports figures. Running in 3rd, Jason Girard. How about we run down a little bit farther? We'll go to Billy Smith in 4th and Carlos Villa running out your top 5.
All right, and Justin, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about the GTD class. What's going on out there?
Well, right now with those GTDs, other than, of course, having to dodge, say, for example, the prototype to Scott Corbin, who's now in the towing. And right now, Brad Haley is still out by a gigantic gap at this point. Continuing to grow that gap, in fact, by about 12, 13 seconds at this point. Dennis Severnek is currently still in 2nd, but Scott McGreevy is starting to close up the battle on the Trong Par, as he's currently still in 3rd on a slightly later pit strategy in these GTDs for today. Brandon Giragozo is still in 4th spot, guys.
I just want to follow up on Giuliano Romanolo. We had talked about him. He's out of the race now. On his lap 36, that was several laps ago, coming out of the final corner, got the left sides out on the grass, nosed it onto the inside part of the straight. That's what ended his day.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to mention before the prototype battle really broke out there, as you see, for example, Paul Lindsay in 5th position right now. This has now turned to a battle for 4th spot, as you see him in that Car and Driver Magazine machine, as right now position 18 overall, just had some issues a few moments ago. In fact, he is losing a little bit of time as Corey Roon's still trying to hold on to those spots. It was Hill and Roon, I should say, who were battling for a while, but Hill, of course, has broken up some time because, as you see in those GTLMs, some space breaking out at this point, as we have a lot of action at this point. Things still settling down, but a few position battles forming, especially those prototypes. Position number 8 going to become a battle pretty soon.
You know, I got to say, boys, once we started to settle in, I'm enjoying working with Justin and Adam. You guys are fun. I don't know if I need those other guys anymore.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, anyway, going back up front, Daniel Gralty is, on the screen right now, David Sockrider and Mark Wilson continuing to go at it here. This is back in the prototype field, 8th and 9th, but still probably the battle on the racetrack right now as Mark Wilson's going to take a look. He's probably going to get Sockrider here heading down toward the back straightaway and that chicane, and you can move Mark Wilson up a spot. Back up front real quick, just to kind of talk a little bit more about that battle that we've been following here between Gralty and Mike Young. That battle really widened up while we were going through the other classes. Thanks to some lap traffic, it is now 2 seconds to see Mike Young once again catching a slower car going through the S's and other corners, and that seems to be kind of the name of the game for him here so far. He hasn't been able to catch a lot of luck in that aspect, but he's got another hornet's nest right there to go through. And meanwhile, Daniel Gralty doesn't have a lot.
You might want to speak of Hornets Nets. Corey Roon and John Elmer just had an incident just entering the front stretch, guys. Both of them upset through the radio on that one. Let's check out the replay. As we're just discussing Corey Roon. I don't know if that was netcode or glitching through John Elmer. And John Elmer's definitely not happy from that.
Oh, Roon is not happy. And they're still... both those guys should know not to be talking about it for everyone to hear.
So Ulmer almost goes up and over right there. Very active going right on. That's pretty much going to end Ulmer's day there. I think he had to use his fast repair earlier on in one of those incidents. So unfortunately, Ulmer's day, at least in contention for the race win, is going to be done. Corey Roon able to continue on, at least right now, although his back of his Ferrari is a little bit beat up. You see him go off track right there. Anyway, going back now with Dave Hill up there in 8th position. Dave Hill's had himself a pretty exciting day. Actually, let's go back to Corey Roon here. Man, he ended up having some problems with Civetrix right there. I think his Ferrari is toast. I think that Ferrari's hurt a little bit more than what he's laying on as Fleming gets around him. But Corey Roon's definitely off pace.
And we just have a toad that just happened involving Paul Darling. Let's see what happened. As we'll see on the replay what happened to Darling. He is still 10th for the GTLMs on scoring at the moment. But you see... once again, is those rumble strips bouncing this car this time. I think he might have touched the tire wall, and that might have been the incident cap.
Yeah, he was just parked on the grass, and it just blinks away.
In fact, he has just been black flagged in the race, in fact. But we're not... I don't know how to put this at this point, so I'll let you explain this, Adam.
I honestly don't know how to explain it. But needless to say, Corey Roon now pits. He parked the car on track and took the tow to come on in. So I'd have to assume that his day may be done or otherwise out of contention right there. But either way, race goes on. As that gap between Gralty and Mike Young continues to open up. Now we're looking at GTLMs between Ooms and McGarvey. That continues to open up as well. That's almost up to 8 seconds there as far as a battle. Right now, I think Duprat and Pence in 5th and 6th in the prototypes might be the battle on the racetrack. At least looking at the timing and scoring here, they seem to be pretty close. Watching McGarvey come down pit road. For what might be his last stop of the day. It should be the last stop of the day here at this point.
Get that one out of the way, as he is probably first in that. He was first to pit in that class as well, so he's going to be first to pit on the second stop. And he gets it rolling. Ooms is your leader.
Yeah, right now things really settling down at this point, but of course you still have the pit stops. For example, the GTDs coming up potentially still. Bradley Haley still leading them off. Dennis Sevenik in second spot with McGreevy in third. So these guys, of course, with 30 minutes to go, there's probably going to be at least one more stop for these guys, obviously. But based on what we've seen now with the GTLMs coming in, pretty safe to say they'll be coming in probably in the next few minutes. As Patrick Fleming just had an off track, as you've seen in the backdrop of Sevenik's camera view.
All the prototypes still with one more stop to make. McGarvey, the first one to come in out of that GTLM class to make a stop. Looks like all the leaders in the GTD class still going to have to come in as well.
Well, we are finally been joined by Sean Ambrose.
Yeah, I hope he didn't hear that comment I made about feeling comfortable with you guys.
Well, It looks like the lights are on, but nobody's home, which pretty much covers that subject pretty well right there. But looks like DePratt and Pence, that battle continues on. Now about 5 tenths of a second. And tell you what, these are two guys that are having themselves a pretty decent day. Granted, you know, taking advantage of some attrition at the top of the prototype class, but both of them now fighting for a top 5.
Pence running about half a second behind DuPratt. See there, DuPratt making his way around. Who is that there? That's Ryan Huff.
That's, you know, Ryan Huff's had himself his own couple of battles here for it today, but now mixing it up with these prototypes, and unfortunately Pence catching him there in the slow S's, and that really cost him a lot of time right there off the back end of DePratt, as that went from about 3 tenths of a second up to over a second there.
And I think Chris Pence may have just disappeared. We were talking about the incident cap coming into a factor in the last 30 minutes. Is he potentially off the track? In fact, he is nowhere to be seen. In fact, it might be internet, I should say, because his internet quality is at 53.
Yeah, I was watching. I didn't see an off track that would have caused him to blink away.
Yeah, might be internet connection situation, as that isn't in the bad luck for him. He was in 5th spot in that class.
Yeah, so another unfortunate prototype having a problem there in the class, and we'll have to see if he comes back, but at this point I don't think he is, so you can pretty much give that spot right now to Lionel DePratt, as Chris Pence is going to drop down the running order, unfortunately, out right now as it stands. We'll see if he gets back. Gralty and Mike Young's 2.3 seconds. Let's see if we have any other close battles out there right now. After a lot of excitement earlier on, things finally starting to calm down just a touch. Now, as I say that, Gralty and Mike Young, that gap really shrunk here the last couple of seconds. Gralty's slow.
Something's wrong. Is he out of fuel?
It looks like it. In fact, it looks like it, and as the director said, sounds like it. He is going 136. That is, I guess you have a situation of stretching the fuel too much, as he's going to have to hope he can crawl it to his pit stall, or else he's potentially done.
Yeah, well, thankfully he'll get a little bit of a downhill assist right here, but we'll see if that's enough to carry him all the way to his pit stall. He seems to be able to keep up at about 55 miles an hour, slows down to about pit road speed, but just heartbreak right now for Daniel Gralty, who is on his way to being able to maybe pull off the win, but Mike Young coming down pit road right behind him. But this is definitely going to hand the lead over to Mike Young after Daniel Gralty slowed in the back half of the track. And speaking of slow, now we can go ahead and bring in Sean Ambrose. I believe he has his mic figured out.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Maybe.
Yes, we can, Mr.
Wow.
Counselor.
Yeah, okay. Well, hey, yeah, welcome back. Boy, auspicious way to come into the broadcast. Sorry about that, guys. But looks like you've had a lot of fun. Pretty good one now. The final pit stops are underway, and looks like about 25 minutes to go, guys.
Yeah, so, you know, and I understand you have a little bit of a story to tell us.
No, you don't want to hear this story.
Okay, we'll save it for later.
We kind of do what we'll find out later about that story, I guess, like Adam just said. Okay. And by the way, Lionel DuPratt just pulled it into the pits with Dale Green, by the way. Prototype and GTLMs coming in at the same time. Strategy coming into play. So right now, for example, Dennis Sevenik has scored as 2 pit stops, but still in second spot in the GTMs. So it's going to come down to potentially fuel mileage for the rest of this race at this point.
Man, I'm watching Sock Rider and Wilson right now, and they've got the Stephen McGarvey right in front of them, or in between him, and Sock Rider right now getting away, and that is not what Mark wants to see here at this point. And Mark just coming out of that pit stop. Sock Rider was in just 3 laps before him here, but this is a battle for position. This is the top 5 right here, guys.
definitely the battle on the racetrack is another battle out there, but I think it might be because of pit stops. We'll see here in a minute. But Sock Rider has had himself an eventful day. Mark Wilson's had himself an eventful day. It's just been an eventful day at Road Atlanta as we're now into the last 25 minutes of this hour-and-a-half race. And let's check in on Carlos Villa, and I believe, let's see here, it's Steve McGarvey. No, I'm sorry. I was looking at Chris Pence there, but Chris Pence back on track. Okay, so Chris Pence actually back on track in the prototype class there, and that was the battle that I was looking at. Unfortunately, just kind of one of those things that's been happening here tonight all night long is some things getting a little tweaked here every once in a while. But Chris Pence back in the race in 8th position. Of course, he was a victim of an internet disconnection just a couple of minutes ago, and that's probably going to cost him a top 5 here for this evening. So meanwhile, up front, Mike Young, as expected. What is that gap between Mike Young and Daniel Gralty, you might ask?
Well, the gap is the driver between them, because Gralty has fallen back to 3rd as our 2nd place driver is Alex Ellis.
Yeah, and between the two of them, that gap is now widened up to 33 seconds. That is how much that missing that fuel cost Daniel Gralty to Mike Young.
And Gralty better hope for a mistake out of Mike Young, which I don't think we're going to get. You're not going to make up that much time here.
But of course, as we've seen here today, 23 minutes can be a lot of time for something to happen. Mike Young still has to navigate through lap traffic and hope everything goes well there. And lap traffic has definitely been the name of the game here for tonight.
Yeah, it has definitely been the name of the game. It's right from the get-go. By the way, Dennis Sevenek is now pulled into the pits. So this is going to be his final stop, the first one up near the front for the GTDs to pull on into the pits. Possibly might have a shorter stop because Ross Booth was the first one to technically come in a few laps back, about 10 laps back, as he had about 15 second stop, probably splashing going it. 7X going to fill it up as much as he can here.
And guys, Patrick Fleming is in. His GTD, that Ford GT down the pit lane, the Hot Wheels car pulling into his box. This will be his last one.
As we look at that, let me follow up a little bit about Alex Ellis. You ever run into somebody and you can't place them, and you know that you know him from somewhere, and boy, Alex Ellis, I go, how do I know Alex Ellis? Well, he hasn't raced in the last 4 events, but he was in the season opener at Daytona, and he won. That's how I know Alex Ellis.
You know, and you look at his stats here for tonight. I mean, he started last in the prototype field. No practice on the charts here for today. He was able to get in at the last minute to be able to race here for tonight. And here he is staring at a podium finish with everything that's happened. So good run for him. As woohoo! He got into the back there, Brandon Garassi, and actually tweaked the front edge of his HPD just a little bit, not too bad, but that was definitely a hairy moment as Brandon was on his way down to pit road.
And it looks like Garcia as well as Ohms, as you see, so various drivers putting on in, so the Blackadder and AOD drivers wanting to pull in, get that fuel strategy set to go. So everybody finally getting those shots. Ohms is now out, by the way, and as you can see, he comes out right in the middle of beautiful GTD traffic.
Boy, and Ohms and Owens there had a close moment coming down the hill. Or at the top of the hill, they side by side just door handle to door handle and almost locked it up. And now he's going to get by. Owens gets by cleanly there. I'm sorry, not Owens. My bad, guys. Trying to get synced up here. Ohms gets by cleanly there after battling with Owens down the hill.
And Owens, in fact, just had an apologized to the radio for that situation, I believe, in fact, as well. So lots of sportsmanship there. So right now, still a few different drivers that I think still at the pit still, though.
Yeah, if you're apologizing, it's a close moment, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, if you're apologizing, you kind of know there's a chance you're at fault, and it's always as driver courtesy and sportsmanship to apologize, even when you're not in the wrong whatsoever, or else some people will say otherwise.
And King goes in just in front of our leader as they get there to the entrance, the pit entrance. King's going to come in for his last stop.
Yeah, you have to wonder, as you see some of these GTLMs finally ending things off with about 19 minutes to go, these GTDs have to eventually come in at this point. You have to think, because, of course, you have one driver coming in already in the front runners. Really, everyone else, I think, is just trying to stretch it out. Don't you think, Sean?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That name of the game, you know, in these types of races, one of the strategies you'll play is the long one, and that is to, you know, run it out as long as you can. And we'll see here. Obviously, still, you know, you look at somebody like Dave Hill, who hasn't been in quite some time. So, I don't know. We'll see here. Could still be some trickery up a few sleeves.
Well, I will say that since Mike Young took over the overall P1 spot, he's handling lap traffic a little bit better. He's not catching him.
Brian Bennett's around, guys.
Go ahead.
Bennett is around. Big trouble there for Bennett in turn 5.
That's my turn.
Yeah.
That's your turn, and he's had a lot of different turns in the Clan AOD card today, as you see. Just once again, that rumble strip out of 5, causing massive chaos. This time, Bennett, he's had a few different spins today. That time, he gets a fair amount of damage as well to go along with his beautiful spin.
And I do believe his previous one, too, was in turn 5 as well. That's just a corner that will just reach out and bite you. But it also doesn't help the fact that that's one of these guys' biggest complaints about the Audis here this season is that they don't like to turn too much.
Now Bennett's got to let that HPD get by. Ellis gets away. Back on to racing for him.
That back wing looks a little bit depressing on Bennett's car, so he's going to have some speed issues for the rest of the day. Regardless, he's still able to run pretty well. He's 27th overall in the race, so just got to deal with all these. Just got to make sure he keeps things clean and he can get a top 10. By the way, spin out on the front stretch, Paul Lindsay. And Paul Lindsay, he's going to get back around. We're going to check out the GSRC replay for Paul Lindsay in the GTDs.
As you're going to see this unfold, it happens right in front of Scott McGarvey. Oof.
Yeah, that's exactly why I caught this up. Just goes spinning right on around, backs up into the grass so he can turn it back around safely, and he's back up and running once again.
Well, here we are. We are now about 16 minutes to the end. For one last time here for today, let's go ahead and run down the top 5 in each class. I'll take care of the. Well, actually, Sean, we'll let you go ahead and handle the prototype class here real quick, and go ahead and tell us about what's going on up there.
Okay, I'll give it my best shot, guys. Thanks for letting me invade the booth here late, very late indeed. But it's Mike Young at the top of the field right now. Mike, well, having a pretty solid day. The New England driver. Now sits, just over 15 seconds ahead of Alex Ellis in second, who is still digging, but Mike makes a big mistake. Going to be tough for anyone to catch him. He is, the race is his. Then there's Gralty, who we followed just a while ago into that pit stop with an empty tank, and the time it cost him is insurmountable. Now he's closed up a couple of seconds, but it's still just under 30. And you've got Lionel Duprat sitting there in 4th. Lionel, a decent race today. The Texas driver currently 1 minute and 30 seconds behind our leader. Lionel just needs to keep eyes forward and hope for this top 5 finish here today, because Dave Sockrider still trying to track him down here. Dave's just about 10 seconds back, so maybe Dave with a chance to maybe get a better position, but Lionel's sure to fight him hard here. That's your top 5 in HPDs.
And Soup, tell us about what's going on in the GTLMs.
My guys, we had a talk before the race. They said we're going to be really well behaved. Jeffrey Ohms out in front, 6.5 seconds over the defending champion. Kind of in this class. It was in the I think he drove a Corvette last time. We've lost the Corvette and the Aston Martins, but it's Stephen McGarvey Racing in second. He's got about 5 seconds on Jason Girard. Those guys are comfortably 12 seconds up on the veteran Billy Smith II. No real battles going on there. And then you go back to fifth. It's Carlos Villa. And he's got about 4-second cushion that anybody's going to run him. So my top 5 pretty well set. I don't really know what's going on over there in the GTD. So maybe Justin could help me out.
Well, right now there's the mist of pit cycles at the moment that have really switched things around. You see Bradley Haley still out in the lead regardless with the pit strategy. About right now, Scott McGarvey just pulled on in second spot. He's going to lose that second spot, in fact, to Devis Semenik as he zooms right on by on the front stretch. Things, of course, changing very quickly. As you see now in fourth spot right now, zooming right on behind, it is Brandon Juraskolzy right now in that 68 machine. And rounding out the top 5, Sheldon Rosenbaum, as Rosenbaum is way on behind, about 6.5, maybe up to, in fact, 21 seconds away from the nearest car, as you see on your scoring right now for the Autobahn East machine.
Looks like all those GTDs have made their stops. Looks like all the GTLMs are done. Looks like everybody is done.
At least hopefully. It won't be a situation where you want to see pit road anymore here for today, because that probably means that something happened to you. And, well, we've had enough excitement for one day. Let's just get her going to the end of the race. Right now on your screen, you see Paul Lindsay out there. He is solidly in 7th position there in those GTD cars, with Brian Bennett having some problems. Paul Lindsay himself has had a few problems here for today. But the guy in 6th is not one that we've talked about hardly at all here today. So let's go and give him a little bit of airtime. Ross Booth out there. Very, very quiet day in that Mercedes. He's up only 1 spot from the start, been very consistent out there, and at least at this point is a good, solid candidate to bring that home 6 in your GTDs here this afternoon at Road Atlanta. As we get into close to the 12-minute mark left in this race, we probably have, I'd say about 10 or 11 laps left here for today, as things have really calmed down now. Sean, of course, joined us late, but Sean, one of the things earlier that we saw a lot of was lap traffic, and that played a big, big role in, especially once the prototypes hit the lap traffic. I'm pretty sure that Justin and Soup can definitely attest to what kind of chaos that was. Can you think, at least with yourself, any other track where lap traffic is going to play as big of a role as it does here at Road Atlanta?
You know what? Maybe there are a couple of tracks, but right now I think what you're dealing with here is there are a couple of HPDs that have got a lot of traffic in front of him before this race is over, and one of them is Gralty right now. He's got to get through several cars here. He's trying to make up ground on Alex Ellis. As I said before, don't think it's really going to happen at this point, but he's got to be careful navigating his way through that traffic. So he just went through the final turn there right along Matt Owens. Right there could have been easily a situation where he could have gotten into him and lost that podium position. Now, again, he's behind here this Mercedes of Dennis Savretic, and you know what? He's going to get it clean, and it's a tough spot right there to have to make a move as you set up to go down through the S's here.
Quickly, let's take a peek at the driver just in fourth position in the prototypes, Lionel Duprat. I want to talk about him a minute. He's having the best race of his season. He hasn't had a top 5 yet. He's racing in 4th. And he's also, they have other championships here as well. They have the sportsman class, and Duprat sits 2nd in that in the prototypes. I think this finish today is going to move him probably up into the lead over Scott Corbin for Blackadder Motorsports. So good run from Lionel Duprat out there in the purple and black attack of Mama Jean Racing.
Yeah, and of course, Scott Corbin having himself plenty of trouble early on. He's going to finish well down in the standings. So, yeah, pretty good day for Lionel. And you won't talk to a nicer guy than Lionel Duprat. I got to give a moment just to say that about him. Every time we talk in TeamSpeak, of course, he's a Texas guy, just fantastic. As we go ahead and skip up, actually, to Mike Young. He is just weaving his way through some of the lap traffic right now as see all those 4 cars behind him? Yeah, he weaved his way around each and every single one of those here in the last couple of seconds. He still has a few more cars up ahead of him as to go. So the field is kind of thinned out, traffic spread out across the track. Even Syandra, we got to go. Let's take a look. Let's talk about Syandra here for a second. If there is an award given out to the guy that has just kind of hung in there the longest despite the adversity, that's got to go to Syandra here, as he is obviously going to finish well down the running order here for today, but he keeps on trying to go, keeps on trying to get every single position he can from everybody that's fallen out. But try to make the best out of a bad day.
Well, here's what's inside his helmet. He missed the first race at Daytona, so that's one drop race. Then he had a 7th in round 2 at as Mosport. So that's another one that he wants to get rid of. So he can salvage something even better than 7th place. That'll count. If he finishes worse than 7th, then that Canadian race is going to score for him.
Yeah, and that's the thing when it comes to situations like this where you have trouble, where if you are still running in the field, you may as well keep on racing, because you end up getting those spots in exactly that. You end up having a bunch of Dory Awards being given out at the end of the race by having that kind of mindset. As long as you can finish off the car, why not go out there and try and turn a few laps, gain a few more spots?
Or with the one no-show, he knows he already has that one. So if he were to get a future problem where he finishes well down the order coming up in the back half of the season, whatever points he can make here are going to count.
Guys,
go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, Ellis, we were talking about the traffic a moment ago. Ellis, in his HPD, having to work through an awful lot of traffic right now. He's just gone through 6 cars very, very patiently here.
And Steve P. Jones right behind them, you might have seen with that traffic, having to do a slide job through the grass, guys. Look at this. Perfect time to mention this. You see this now on your replay here. The Rainier Racing driver with that traffic right in front of him. Steve P. Jones, I think he wasn't expecting that car to be there, having to slide through the grass. Still able to keep it going, still has 7th spot.
Do you think that P stands for Parnelli?
Maybe. I am.
It does. I'm sure it does.
I'm thinking Mom and Dad were huge race fans.
I gotta think so too.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of anybody else named Parnelli? There's no other Parnelli in the world. Come on.
Oh, I'm digging now, Soup.
Sounds like an Italian rap singer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
While you dig right now trying to find that, why don't we mention, while we're mentioning drivers that have had quiet days so far, you have Sheldon Rosenbaum right now, who's had a quiet day in his class for the GTDs. As you see him running in 5th, a very quiet top 5, moved up 5 spots since the start of the race, as Mr. Parnelli Jones moves right on by. But he's just been able to run his own little race. He's not had the fastest laps, of course. The fastest lap for him is about 2 seconds off, about a second off of, for example, the leader of Bradley Haley. But he's in it with his driving style and keeping that car clean. He's been able to keep himself in that top 5 and keep a fair amount of distance between the driver we talked about before, Ross Booth, who's in 6th.
And Soup, by the way, Parnelli, not his actual name.
I didn't know that.
What?
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Enlighten us.
Rufus Parnell Jones.
Oh,
Parnell. Okay.
I can now see why he went with Parnelli. Apologies to anybody named Rufus out there.
Mike Young just went flying by Matt Owens and then put it up on top of the curves when he got right by him and just bouncing this HPD all over the place. He gets out of turn 5 and it was just right on the ragged edge there, down at the bottom, getting up the hill.
There's only 5 minutes to go, but it's Ellis has knocked 2 more seconds off that lead. I think you're safe, Mike, if you just keep it out there.
I think it's going to be a case where Alex is just simply going to run out of time more than anything else, as we've only got 5 minutes and 30 seconds to go left here at Road Atlanta in the Autobahn Motorcar Series here for tonight. So time dwindling down. I think if Alice is going to catch Mike Young, something's going to have to happen to Mike Young.
So what's the deal with Mike Young? Well, he had a 4th at Daytona. We haven't heard much from him since. He did have he had a third out of at Coda last time out. He's only raced in two races so far.
So a fourth, a third, and potentially a first.
Yeah.
All he needs is a second in between there for the next time around to make it a nice, even, straight top four split.
That'd be like for the cycle.
Your line.
There you go. There you go. But, you know, Mike Young is going to have himself a heck of a traffic battle here. He's going to catch he's going to catch Ryan Huff and Denise Vetrick there. He's going to go ahead and take it 3 wide. That's going to be kind of a rough corner entry right there, but he's going to be able to navigate his way through it. And then he's got Carlos Villa and then Patrick Fleming up in front of them. Go ahead.
Oh, Jason Gerard with trouble coming down the hill, guys. He loses his Ford GT. Slides off the course into the tire barrier.
From third. Now, he had it to Billy Smith. Billy Smith's still back there about 15 seconds. I think Gerard should be able to limp that car around. Don't be damaging up those Fords. They're so pretty, Jason.
Yes, Cy Andra actually was just asking over the radio what just happened to that car. As now you see him, he's still in third, but he's going to have to try and find his way to get to the finish line and hold off now to finish on the podium, and with Billy Smith with a more cleaner car at this point.
About 5 seconds cushion back to Billy Smith the second.
But if you look at that time interval, that cushion is closing quick because it's as you see going to the braking zone, he's probably going to be able to maybe close it if he gets enough speed, really. But speaking of speed, the GTD still, Bradley Haley has just been on an absolutely dominating race. 18.5-second lead at this point, guys. Just no one has been near him at this point, guys.
Okay, now we missed it just a moment ago, but I think it's close enough we can go back to it. Alex Ellis caught the curb coming out of turn 11, turn 11 just a moment ago, going underneath the bridge. And half looped it around. It was almost a disaster for him. You see it live here on your GSRC replay. He gets around the slower Mercedes, takes that curve just a little bit too much, and half loops around.
How does he keep it out of the wall right there?
I don't know, but he did, and he's still able to go on. But cost him a couple of seconds there, that's for sure.
That was Scott McGarvey they were going around. McGarvey had a good look at him going by and then spinning in front of him. He's still comfortable, though. He's got 14 seconds back to Gralty, so he's hanging in there. So both Gralty and Gerard making this exciting to bring home those podiums.
Yeah, right now, you see all the action, really, as things settle down here. As you still see Jason Gerard, I guess, on your screen. Pardon me there, Brad. Right now you see him trying to get past a few different cars.
Yeah, Sklenka lets him go there, Justin, and good job by Sklenka backing off there down to the braking zone before they hit that chicane.
Yeah, smart move right there. You don't want to have an incident, especially if you're a lapped car in this situation. A few different cars in their own classes are now lapped cars in this race at this point, so just by either attrition or by racecraft at this point. So smart move there with 1:24 to go.
Yeah, and Mike Young should have just taken the 2 to go here. He should get the white flag next time by. Alex Ellis getting to run the radio here just a second ago, not happy with somebody here.
It might be partially because of this lap traffic he is working with, trying to get by Carlos Villa possibly. As you see him getting loose there, my goodness. There's talking about trying to catch up to the guy 11 seconds up the road and trying to put on rocket boosters when the rocket boosters are already missing off the back end.
Well, either way, time is dwindling down to do anything at all here. Alex Ellis is trying to get all he can out of that car, but I think it's all going to be for naught. Is Mike Young working his way through the chicane, coming up turns 11, going to hit turn 12, and the white flag is unfurled and in the air. He tries to go ahead and do a little bit of lawn mowing here for the last little bit of trip around, going down through turn 1. Mike Young being able to take advantage of what all has gone on, been able to go ahead and also just have himself a very clean race out there. And in the end, as long as you bring it back around and get home, he's going to come away with the race wins. You see Leif Peterson giving way. I think he might be able to catch Jason Gerard here before the checkered flag. We'll have to see as he starts to trip down the long back straightaway, as these cars will top out at around 170 miles an hour going down this back straight. In fact, a little bit even more than that, I believe. There goes Jason Gerard coming home in first place in your prototype class, working through the S's one last time. 11, then sweeping down the downhill to 12. Hand the round 6 of the Autobahn Motorcar Series to Mike Young in the prototype class. Go ahead and call it here, Justin, for the GTLMs.
And yes,
Sean, sorry.
That's GT Bradley Haley coming out of the final turn, screaming across the line. He is your winner today, Bradley Haley, with a strong run. Wait for the field today.
And just out of 7 is your GTLM group of Jeffrey Ooms. Heading down, he's got a comfortable 7-second lead over Stephen McGarvey. McGarvey, a quiet run. Just the little chicane for Ooms to negotiate. He's already done it 71 times. Left, right. Then around 11, which is really not much of anything, through 12, nothing but straight ahead of him now for the checkered flag. And this will be Oom's 3rd win of the season as he takes home the GTLM class from Road Atlanta.
And that's going to round out that. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back down, we'll let the rest of the cars come across the line, and we'll run down your finishing order. We'll be back here in just a moment. that was an eventful Road Atlanta race here in the Autobahn Motorcar Series. And, well, at the end of the day, you end up coming away with a Mike Young win and only really his third start of the year. Sean, go ahead and talk us through the rest of the prototype field.
Well, we'll start with Mr. Young and his great race he had today, but then it was Alex Ellis in second. Daniel Gralty with a little bit of missed strategy there on that fuel. That'll cost him, and he'll finish third. Lionel Duprat, fourth today. David Sockrider, fifth. Mark Wilson, sixth. Steve, we don't really think that's Parnelli Jones, but if it is, it's still pretty cool. Seventh, Chris Pence. I'm sorry, Steve Jones was seventh. Chris Pence, eighth. Cy Andra is going to finish down the field in ninth. John Ulmer, 10th. Scott Corbin will finish in 11th today. Mark Kudrowski, 12th. And the last HPD, and that was Mark Schindel, actually finishing last today in a number 416.
Okay, I got the GTLMs here, and it is your winner, Jeffrey Ohms. He comes home comfortably ahead of Stephen McGarvey, and Jason Girard made it exciting with a spin at the very end, but still able to bring it ahead of Billy Smith the second. Ryan Huff rounds out your top five. Carlos Villa and Dave Hill go sixth and seventh. Eighth was Patrick Fleming. Number 9 is John King, Dale Green, and Leif Peterson. And I don't have any good rods and cones anymore down there. It looks like Paul Darling and Corey Roon will be also in that group. Miguel Meyer next down there. If I'm missing anybody else, I think I got most of them. Okay, Justin, what do you got for the GTDs, I guess?
The GTDs, of course, Bradley Haley came away today with his fourth victory on the season. Already in the early part of this campaign, coming away with a dominant victory for his class over Dennis Severnek. Well, as you see there on the scoring, Scott McGarvey finished off in third, followed by Brandon Giriscari, and followed by Sheldon Rosenbaum. Ross Booth, he had a pretty quiet run all the way to sixth spot today. He was the first car a lap down, put the lap down by the leader of his class, followed by Paul Lindsay. Sheldon Worrelson finished off as well. He did not take tires apparently as well for that final stop, which made things a little bit interesting for him. Matt Owens finished off 28th overall in the race today. Behind him is Brian Bennett, who had a few fun rides out of turn number 5 today. Robert Skolenka finished off 30th overall in the race today, and that is near the ending point for these GTDs. Of course, there's a few more cars, as you see. Christopher Sherburne finished off 31st. Giulio Romagnolo finished off a few laps down, 39 laps down, I should say, after trouble for him. Sean Reese, 40 laps down after situations for him, as well as you continue to see the rest of your stats. Kevin Santana, Dino Topic, Jeff Hooper, David Tejada, Joseph Crawford, Tim McLeish, and Chris Pence, all a part of that grouping on the final part of the overlays, guys.
And of course, all those cars, many laps down, part of an eventful day at Road Atlanta, where lap traffic definitely played a role in how things shaped up. Now, we're going to get him in here, but we're going to go ahead and talk to Mike Young. And I believe Soup is going to have quite a few questions for Mr. Young here.
Do we have him in here yet? Is he ready to talk? Mike, you have a copy?
I'm here. Read you loud and clear.
Hey, it's Soup here. Congratulations. You had a nice run last time out at our last event. We met, and early on you had a great run. We didn't see you much in the middle of the season. Congratulations on the win today.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was kind of a crazy race today. Luckily, the guys who were way quicker than me all kind of had issues, so it was great to take the win in the series.
Now, you were chasing Daniel around for the longest of time, and you'd get in back behind him, then you'd lose some distance. Were you forcing the issue or just kind of stalking him there for a while?
I was just making him worry a little bit, trying to mess around with his mirrors a bit. But he would catch really good gaps in the traffic, especially coming through those S's. So I was really just trying to keep up with them and save fuel in that first stint.
A really fast pit stop on your first stop. Was that because you were behind him? You saved some fuel because you were a couple seconds faster. Did you fill it all the way up on that first stop?
Yeah, filled it to the brim. I had a pretty good in lap. I'm assuming he hit some traffic on the way around with that extra lap I was able to make. But yeah, I didn't realize how close we were until we came out of the pits.
Well, we get tired of always calling it for Ulmer and for Tinsey and for Andra. It's good to see somebody new up there. Congratulations on the win.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Mike
Young, your winner today. Adam?
Yeah, so he having himself a pretty great day, taking advantage of the different incidents that happened out there.
And apparently we had some kind of technical issue, but basically we are going to now get to Jeff Ohms, as Jeff Ohms now will speak to Bill Soupçon as he came away with a victory in his class, guys.
And let's bring Ohms here. I think
something happened there. No, I was sitting there just up there talking away.
Oh my God! Okay. The broadcast. I pushed you out the lobby. That was me. I'm sorry, man.
Okay, Jeff Ohms, can you hear us?
Yeah, so I'm here, guys. I'm just listening to all the shenanigans.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, tonight's been nothing but one big shenanigan out there. But hey, Jeff, hey, you had yourself a pretty good day out there, man, and coming away with your third win of the season. You're pretty much dominating the point standings, and you probably, out of everybody out there, had the quietest days. What was it like from the driver's seat as far as what was going on?
That was kind of the plan, was just to have a nice quiet day. Seeing the practice times, I was just hoping to finish in second, to be honest, behind Gerard. He had a really quick car today. And right off the start, we kind of had a 3 or 4 car train pull away there. And I figured if we could just kind of settle in, see how everything goes, I could just kind of make a position or two. But our first round with traffic, it kind of held everybody up, and I was able to sneak by both of them, I guess, and then just kind of pulled away and used traffic to my advantage.
And you mentioned traffic out there tonight, kind of being the middle class for you. I mean, you have the faster HPDs to worry about and the slower GTDs. I mean, and obviously you managed it well enough. You came away with the race win and everything, but was there any problems that you noted as far as traffic from your perspective?
Actually, the Mercedes cars are actually really fast on the straights, and if they didn't just lift off the throttle, then you'd kind of have to go dive bomb in there on them. But most of them were pretty cordial and letting you go by in a nice manner. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. We had a couple times where all 3 classes were trying to get by each other, and being the middle class, I couldn't get past the GT3, and the prototypes trying to hold up behind me. It was kind of crazy there for a few laps, but made it all work and didn't have any contact, I don't think.
All right, so next up, we're going to go to Laguna Seca here in a couple weeks now. For Laguna Seca, totally different kind of track than what Road Atlanta is. What do you think about your chances there?
I'd say that they're good, but that's going to be a complete crapshoot, to be honest, and we'll see how it is. It'll probably be kind of like how today was, but just a little bit more crazy, more hectic, just because it's a smaller course and less shorter straightaway, so there's less passing opportunities. So it'll probably be even more exciting, I would say.
All right. Well, hey, congratulations on your class win here for tonight. Appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully we'll talk to you again here soon.
Yeah, no worries, guys. We'll see you at the next race. Have a good one.
All right, next on tap, I believe that Justin is going to talk to Bradley Haley.
Yes, Bradley Haley, can you hear us, Bradley?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, perfect, and nice to see you can join our nice suede couches and the absolute chaos that is going on in this booth. Of course, there was a lot of chaos on the track today as well. What are your thoughts after coming away with your 4th victory of the season and what some have described as absolutely chaotic of a race?
Yeah, it looked pretty crazy. My plan was to get away as quick as possible, build a gap, and then kind of dictate who passed me rather than them them being in charge of passing me, and it seemed to work out. I had a lot of slowdowns, but it was nice, no car contacts with anybody.
That's good news for the no car contacts, really, for pretty much the entire race. How did you keep that consistency with what was going on around you? to try it, because, of course, you ended up in the end spacing yourself about an 18.5-second gap between you and second place.
Yeah, I've had a gap before, and I failed to finish. So this time, about halfway through, I realized I hadn't had any off tracks. So the rest of the race, that's all I concentrated on was not getting any off tracks and hitting my marks. And then again, when that blue flag came up, dictating where they passed me at, and yeah, it worked out.
Would you be upset if I told you had one incident point for the race?
Oh, one? When? Afterwards?
It says you have one. Yes, it has one on your final recordings for the race. But, of course, you're going to Laguna Seca, where it's going to be much harder to not have those off tracks. How are you going to prepare for that track?
Yeah, Laguna's fun. I love that place. It's going to be difficult trying to hit all the practices so we can get used to all the cars on track, because it's tight. There's not a lot of room, and there's no straightaway, so it's going to be difficult. But we'll be there. We'll be ready.
We'll see if you're completely 100% ready, and hopefully you are ready. Thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on the win, Bradley.
Thanks, guys.
And that was Bradley Haley, the victory today for the GTDs. And Adam Young, I believe you have somebody else.
Yeah, actually, we'll let Sean here talk to Alex Ellis here real quick. Go ahead, Sean.
Alex, how you doing, buddy? Tough, long race there for you.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. It was a last-minute decision, so didn't qualify, and it was a big handicap to start behind both the GTE and the GT3 fields at the start there in pit lane.
Well, okay, so you finished on the podium. You pulled out a second place. If I told you you had to pass 45 cars to do it, would you believe that?
Yeah, it was definitely a tall task. I didn't think I was going to get up to the podium, but hey, it worked out, and I was able to stay surprisingly clean because, like you guys said, it was definitely lots of shenanigans tonight.
I don't believe you ever had to come on and apologize. So yes, it was a good, clean race for you there, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. I was able to string together a lot of clean laps. I thought I actually might have had a chance at getting the win too. I was reeling Mike in, but just ran out of time.
Yeah, you know what? Time was your enemy there at the end, with Gralty making the mistake there on the fuel strategy. You were clear and good to make a shot at Young, but yeah, in the end, it just ran out of it. But hey, a great, solid effort today. Way to represent Canada. And before I let you go, I got to ask, who's your team?
Well, I'm with Blackadder Motorsports. We're going to be drawing our efforts to a close pretty soon, though. So there's some new things in the works. So
I've heard that. I've heard that out there in the community. And since you brought it up, are you free to make any other announcements at this point? Is this the end of Blackadder, or is it going to continue in one way or another?
We have a really great community of guys. A lot of guys who from all around the world who really get along and really enjoy racing together. So without saying too much, I think it's going to kind of splinter off, but all the same guys are still going to be somewhat aligned. So you'll see some teams coming out in the near future that might have some of the good memories of BAM still going.
Well, you know what? Nobody's happier to hear that than me, because I'm friends with several of you guys, and that's good news. That's really, really good news. So, hey, thanks for coming in and taking a moment with us, and congratulations on another podium finish, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to coming back.
All right, guys, and that is Alex Ellis.
Yeah, and I believe one last guy here for tonight, Sanders, go ahead and talk to Subzon.
Cy, lap one took a little trip through the Atlanta foliage there.
Definitely. I botched the start completely. I'll have to admit. I may have bumped into John before we took the green flag, and then
yeah, we saw that too.
I blame not having money to get triples on that, but I think I would have recovered pretty decently had I not damaged the under tray taking that trip through the grass. I managed to keep it off the wall barely, but definitely that damage to the bottom of the cars is potentially race ending. So I had to come into the pits and get it fixed, and that's what put me laps down. And from there on, it was a recovery drive. Luckily, some other things went my way, and my championship contender, John Ulmer, had well,
Yeah,
some bad luck go his way, and I ended up finishing ahead of him. So
plenty of bad luck to go around there. Let me talk to you when you damaged that car. I know you had a spin even before you finished the lap. What do you do when you're in that situation? You just kind of see what you have underneath you?
Oh, definitely. When you lose downforce in a car like the HPD, you feel it immediately. But the thing is, you don't know how much you've lost, so you don't know how much you can push going into the corners. And especially, you don't know where you've lost the downforce until you get to a fast corner. If you lose downforce in the front, it's not a big deal because you just get chronic understeer, and that you can drive out of that pretty easily. It's when you lose rear downforce it's the problem, because you just get snap oversteer, and that's what happened at the end of the lap. The rear just spun around, basically.
Okay, I'll get you out of here on this one. I'm old. I make mistakes. My memory's going. For some reason, I thought you were from Florida, but that's not the case. You were never from Florida. Where do you hail from?
I hail from, 3 or 4 different places, actually. I was born in India. I was raised in Vermont. I went to college in Florida, and now I'm living in the Mideast.
We're in the in the Mideast, as in the Mideast, like the Mideast that I know in the world, or like the Mideast in the United States?
No, the U.S. Mideast.
Okay. Why are you born in India? Who knows what that means? Okay, I got it. All right, congratulations on the win. In no time were you ever in Florida?
Yeah, I was in Florida for university, actually.
Oh, that's why. See,
You're not crazy.
Okay, I got it. All right, man. Congratulations on the your season so far. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Hopefully, the points shake out in my favor. I used up my drop weeks basically, so I need to be perfect from here on out to win the championship.
All right, Sal. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
And with that, another eventful night on the Autobahn Motor Group series. And of course, we want to thank the Autobahn Motor Group, for sponsoring the series, John Ulmer for putting it on. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. They're listed right there on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Case Lawn, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Hey, thanks to the guys here for today. Bill for coming in. Sean, you got here late, but you still got here. And Justin Prince from helping to come in and stepping in at the last minute for Amjad and Dougie as well. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC and our upcoming broadcast, check out our Twitter at GSR channel or Facebook at /Global SimRacing channel. And of course, always the YouTube channel, which you're probably watching right now. Next race, round 7, coming up from Laguna Seca, and that's going to be in 2 weeks, December 18th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We also got some other series there that'll be listed on your screen. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.